what happens in the summer? People get sunburned. So the question is, if you're working outside in a road crew, an amusement park, the zoo, any place where you're routinely outside, and you're working outside under the blazing sun, you develop a sunburn, can you pursue a workers' comp claim for the sunburn? Perhaps, like everything workers' comp related, you need a doctor to opine that, hey, the sunburn was proximately caused by being outside all day. Your employer definitely is going to push back. You're definitely going to have to go to a hearing. They're going to dispute that the work activity, being outside, performing whatever you're doing. If you're in a road construction type situation, they're going to be like, well, what were you doing over the weekend? Were you going to the lake? Were you going to the racetrack? Were you in a city? Were you playing soccer with your friends, or baseball? Perhaps you got sunburn in this non-work activity. So that's always going to happen. They're going to fight against it, and you're going to have to prove, well, it didn't happen there, and it may be allowed, it may not be. So what's the advantage of getting a sunburn? Because what's a sunburn? Well, if you're like me, I'm perhaps the palest individual in the state of Ohio. When I was a kid, I would go with my family to southern Florida, and I would sit on the beach all day, and then I would subsequently develop the worst sunburns possible, such that I couldn't sleep. I wouldn't be able to sleep for a couple of nights, and I could feel the heat radiating off my skin. I developed these gnarly blisters. And so maybe you're in a situation like that, and maybe you've learned your lesson. Now you wear a crazy amount of suntan lotion. But perhaps if you developed a horrendous sunburn, you went to the ER, urgent care, and you got some kind of skin ointment and maybe some pain relief to be able to sleep. So that urgent care or ER bill, it might cost anywhere from $800 to $1,500. If your claim was allowed for a sunburn, and that urgent care ER visit was for treating that sunburn, then maybe you could get that covered through the workers' comp claim. Perhaps you could file a permanent partial disability application for the sunburn. You're not going to get a lot of money. You might get 1 or 2% of a percentage permanent partial award. What you're really going to have a hard time doing is if you're claiming years later that you developed skin cancer from whatever your work activity occurred 20 or 30 years prior. It's going to be really hard to prove that the skin cancer was a result of that, because you're going to have been many other situations where you're outside, and it's going to be hard for a medical doctor to say, yes, this work activity caused the skin cancer versus, later in life going to the outside during the summer. So you can pursue sunburns through the workers' comp claim. I don't know if it's going to be allowed, but why not try?